just going into my little tiny back garden. And this time last year, this garden was really unused. It had a scruffy little bit of grass and some shrubby stuff and a few flowers and a bit of spinach that I found a space for, but it was really not productive or very pleasing. So I decided that I was going to see how much food could be grown in a little tiny back garden. Make it as beautiful as possible, a place we really wanted to be, and of course the weather last year was a great incentive. So what I'm going to show you is what can be done using permaculture principles and thinking to use what is available in the way of building materials. Like, for example, this piece of white plastic fencing that we have secured to the wall to grow sweet peas or support tomatoes, anything that needs some support. And that was just stuck in the corner of the garden doing nothing. And here it is, being useful. Isn't that cool? So there was already, the little pond there was here in the middle of this weedy patch, and we've emptied it out to move it. And I thought we would find maybe 2 or 3 frogs in there, but when we emptied them out and kept them safe in a big bucket, we found nearly 20 full-grown frogs fighting for space in this little tiny pond. So that's the other thing that I really like, is to work with other people, friends in the neighbourhood, because I have a friend who's got a much bigger pond that needs frogs. So she's coming over in the next couple of days and we're going to go frogging in the pond and find her half a dozen big fat frogs to take home to her pond. So I'll just give you a very quick rundown on what we've got growing so far. Now the season is obviously much earlier, the seasons are getting much earlier, but we have now got coming up in this little garden cos lettuces, beetroot planted, rocket, Swiss chard, mange tout peas, we've got climbing beans in this little cold frame. We've got tomato plants coming up nicely that come from my friend Millie in the Wye Valley. We've got morning glories, which are one of my favourites. We've got black-eyed Susan, and also under here we've got, which you may or may not be able to see easily, we've got 2 jars half full of beer to trap the slugs that are somehow managing to get in here and have already started eating things. So they love the beer. These beer slops come from the pub, and they are normally just washed down the drain, but they give them to me in plastic bottles, and the slugs can't resist climbing into the beer and drowning in beer. Which is, I can handle that. The pesky slugs are not going to get to eat my food. We've got some broad beans in a pot here. And just have a closer look at Keegan, thank you, at the mange tout peas that are beautifully happy in their bed with lots of lovely compost underneath them, going to be growing up their support. We built this frame, this beautiful archway to walk through. Do you want to film me walking through this archway?
Yeah, let's get a good view. There you go.
So the thing about permaculture is that we look at being as multifunctional as possible. Like, this is a frame to support beans and peas, but it's also a beautiful little piece of sculpture and a novelty to be able to walk through the arch and pick the beans that are hanging over our heads and the peas, and then you come out into this little place here, which we have. I looked at the cost of AstroTurf, and it's ridiculously expensive, and apart from anything else, it's a load of plastic. So under here, as a nice place we're going to put a table and chairs here, is thick layer of newspaper mulch, whole newspapers opened out, left thick, and a straw bale. So it's all natural, and it will all biodegrade back into the soil for the future generations. And I actually, talking about plastic, I did go to Proper Job yesterday and I bought these new troughs for £4 a time from Proper Job, and they just fit in there beautifully, and they've got a bit of subsoil in the bottom, which is what came out of this bed behind here when we took the pond out. And we don't know what we're going to grow in there yet, but it's sitting there ready for something. The next thing we're planning is a little lightweight, probably made out of bamboo or hazel wands, a little sort of loggia effect, like an overhead, to sit underneath and hang up a cloth for shade when we need it. And I want people to come into this little garden and just see what a paradise can be created using old junk and wood that is free, really. These stones now, I want to point out something really that I was really pleased with. These edging stones around these raised beds, they are thermal blocks that come out of storage heaters. And when some of the houses here in my little close had ground source central heating installed a couple of years ago, which I was thrilled to have, all these blocks were going to go into a skip, would you believe, and end up in landfill. And they actually make the most perfect edging stones because they're very heavy and they do the job. So this is using these, recycling and upcycling anything we can lay our hands on. Now this gruffy corner here, this corner, which is just, as you see, a sort of massive collection of pots and stuff, that's going to be completely cleared out in the next week or two. And an old sofa is going to be installed in here with a plastic sheet to cover it. And we've got an awning here. So we're going to have a shady, comfy place here to sit and work or read or have a meeting or just relax, and another place over here. And we're going to be surrounded by food. And in theory, one could just get up and just graze off the garden and certainly pick wonderful greens and salad and pull carrots and radishes and pick spinach and beans and peas and take them into the kitchen and in minutes create the most wonderful organic fresh food that is the best food that you can imagine. So I just want to inspire you and excite you with the possibilities. And I have to say, Keegan and I have been working on this, my colleague here, who's doing this filming, for the last month, and we have really enjoyed ourselves. It hasn't been hard work, it hasn't been a chore. We have had to push ourselves at times and got quite tired, but even that felt fine. So we don't have to be dependent on the supermarkets, and certainly we shouldn't be eating foods that are grown on chemical and certainly not pesticides. Anyway, every day is a revelation in this garden, and every day I see how more and more beautiful it can become, and it will become. Thank you.